We have with us none other than Dr. Sanjaya Viswamithra sir, Professor and HOD, Department of Radiology, Sri Sathya Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Bengaluru. He is also the current President of Indian Association of Cardiac Imaging. Sir, welcome to the show. It's really an honor to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you for the introduction.
Sir, could you just throw some more light as to the current uses of cardiac MRI in Indian scenario?
Sure. So, cardiac MR is a very unique method of investigation. First thing, of course, is that there is no ionizing radiation and is considered to be safe at all ages. So, it can be used in the pediatric and the adult population. In the Indian scenario, we probably have every single city that we know of, the first tier cities, the second tier cities, all the large cities and even the smaller ones have at least some cardiac MR, some MR availability in the different cities. So, the potential for doing cardiac MR is tremendous in most of India at this point of time.
So, there have been many modalities that have come after cardiac MRI, but still it does hold a good place in imaging. So, what do you say are the advantages and disadvantages of cardiac MR?
So, the main advantage is there is no ionizing radiation and that it can be done at any age group, pediatric and adult age groups. The biggest advantage of cardiac MR is it is almost a one-stop shop in terms of evaluating the heart. So, if you think about the heart in general, we all know that we are looking for function, we are looking for viability, ischemia, infarction and coronary arteries. We are looking at the pipes and we are looking at the effect of the pipes in general. So, with cardiac MR, you can get exquisite imaging of the function and you can get exquisite imaging of the presence or absence of ischemia and the presence or absence of infarction. You can even grade the amount of infarcted myocardium based on cardiac MR because the contrast to noise ratio, the images are so spectacular that you can actually visualize and differentiate 25%, 50%, 75% of infarct. So, that would be the major advantage. The disadvantage of cardiac MR is that there is a bit of a learning curve in terms of actual acceptance and performing the examination. It's not that you need specialized software. In this day and age, almost all the magnets that one would purchase at this day and age will have the software, but you need a little bit of specialized technique because these are ECG gated studies. They take about 35 minutes to 45 minutes and it might take longer in inexperienced hands. You also need a little bit of a learning curve in terms of evaluation of the images.
Sir, are there any cardiac diseases wherein cardiac MR stands as a gold standard today?
So, the gold standard issue is a very interesting one. You can actually look at gold standard as in the literature in terms of how cardiac MR is used in relation to other modalities. So, the typical way that cardiac MR has been utilized is to compare it with SPECT and with coronary artery disease. And in both of these instances, if you look at functional imaging, you will see that almost all the recent papers use cardiac MR as the gold standard for functional imaging, because there is a lack of inter and intra observer variability. There is a very small low inter and intra observer variability with cardiac MR, and one can therefore find that cardiac MR is typically used as the gold standard in many of these papers. So, functional imaging becomes a big one. The second area where cardiac MR could be considered to be a gold standard is in terms of actually grading the extent of infarct. With SPECT, you can visualize certainly the presence or absence of infarct, but the risk stratification that cardiac MR offers is much more accurate when we talk about the extent of infarct in the myocardium.
Sir, any takeaway message for our audience in relation to the cardiac MR imaging modality?
So, as I mentioned, we certainly are at the cusp of using cardiac MR. It has been a decade since cardiac MR was available, and I think we are at the state where we can perform cardiac MR freely in different places. There is a bit of a learning curve, and I would recommend that the organizations come together with the Indian Association of Cardiac Imaging, which I represent, to essentially make the best judgment for the population that we have, because we really need to go forward and come together as a community in order to better the care of the patients.
Thank you so much, sir, for summarizing the use of cardiac MR and its current status in Indian imaging scenario. Thank you once more. It's an honor to have you on the show, sir. Thank you so much.